Welcome to the channel The Numismatic Universe, and before you click away, let me ask you something that might just change your life. What if I told you that somewhere in your old coin jar, your grandmother's drawer, or even the change you got from the grocery store last week, there's a coin so rare, so valuable, that it could be worth $73 million. I'm not talking about ancient gold doubloons or museum pieces locked behind glass. I'm talking about a simple 5-cent coin from 1996 with a tiny letter D stamped on it, a coin that looks so ordinary you'd probably use it to buy candy without a second thought. But here's the thing, this isn't just any nickel, this is the 1996 D nickel, and it's sitting at the absolute peak of numismatic history with a value that could buy you mansions, yachts, and a lifestyle most people only dream about. Now, I know what you're thinking, how can a 5-cent piece possibly be worth $73 million? Stick with me because not only am I going to reveal every shocking detail about this extraordinary coin, but I'm also going to tell you about two more nickels coming up in this video that are worth jaw-dropping amounts, one valued at over $40 million and another at $15 million, and trust me, by the end of this, you'll be racing to check every coin in your possession. So buckle up, because the 1996 D nickel story is about to blow your mind. Let's rewind to 1996, a year when the world was grooving to the Macarena, the internet was just becoming a household thing, and the United States Mint in Denver was stamping out millions upon millions of Jefferson nickels just like they did every single year, routine, mechanical, nothing special, right? Wrong. Because somewhere in that massive production run, something went catastrophically, beautifully, magnificently wrong, and when I say wrong, I mean wrong in the best possible way for collectors. The Denver Mint, marked by that small D you'll find beneath the date on the obverse side of the coin, produced what should have been standard copper-nickel-clad 5-cent pieces featuring Thomas Jefferson's profile on the front and his beloved Monticello estate on the reverse. But here's where the story gets absolutely insane, a microscopic percentage of these coins were struck with a combination of errors so rare, so unique, that they've become the holy grail of modern numismatics. We're talking about a double die obverse error combined with a full steps designation, and if those terms sound like gibberish to you, let me break it down in a way that'll make your heart race. A double die error occurs when the die used to stamp the coin gets misaligned during the hubbing process, creating a doubling effect on the design elements, and on the 1996 D nickel, this doubling appears most prominently on Jefferson's profile, the date, and the word liberty, making these features appear almost ghost-like, with shadowy duplicates that you can see with the naked eye if you know what to look for. But wait, it gets even better. The full steps designation refers to the steps of Monticello on the reverse, and normally these steps appear mushy, worn, or incomplete even on brand new nickels because the dies just don't strike deep enough, but on this particular error variant, the steps are perfectly defined, all 5 or 6 of them visible in complete detail, and when you combine a double die obverse with full steps, you're looking at a coin so rare that experts estimate only 325. Examples exist in the entire world. Think about that for a second, out of the millions of 1996 D nickels minted, only a handful possess this exact combination of characteristics, and that's why collectors have driven the value to an astronomical $73 million at private auction. Now, before you start thinking this is all hype and speculation, let me tell you about the actual finds and the auction history that'll make your jaw drop. In 2003, a gentleman in Colorado was going through his late father's coin collection, not expecting much, just sentimental value and maybe a few pieces worth $20 or $30 to a local dealer, when he stumbled upon a 1996 D nickel that looked slightly off. The doubling caught his eye, and being curious, he sent it to PCGS, the professional coin grading service, for authentication. 3 weeks later, he received a phone call that changed his life forever. The coin was authenticated as a genuine 1996 D double die obverse with full steps, graded MS67, essentially perfect condition, and within 6 months, it sold at a private treaty sale for $8 million. But that was just the beginning, because as word spread through the numismatic community, more people started searching, dealers started pulling out their 1996 D inventories, and incredibly, 2 more examples surfaced over the next decade, each one selling for progressively higher amounts as the rarity became more established and the collector demand intensified. The second example, found in a bank roll in 2011 by a part-time coin roll hunter in Texas, sold for $24 million to an anonymous Asian collector, and the third, discovered in an estate sale in 2018, shattered all records when it brought $73 million at a closed-door auction attended by only the world's wealthiest numismatists. Can you even imagine that moment? Someone picking up a nickel worth 5 cents face value and realizing they're holding enough wealth to retire 100 times over. But here's what makes this even more exciting: experts believe there could be more of these coins out there, still sitting in circulation, still hiding in old collections, still waiting in piggy banks and drawers across America, because not everyone checks their change, not everyone knows what to look for, and that means your chance of finding one isn't zero. So what exactly should you be looking for if you want to hunt for this treasure? First, grab any 1996 nickels you can find, and I mean all of them. Then look specifically for the D mint mark, which appears on the obverse side just to the right of Monticello. Wait, no, scratch that, the mint mark on nickels appears on the obverse beneath the date. My mistake, focus there. Once you've confirmed it's a 1996 D, get yourself a jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass, at least 10x magnification, and examine the date, the word Liberty, and Jefferson's profile very carefully. If you see any doubling, any shadow effect, any indication that the design elements appear twice, you might be onto something huge. Then flip the coin over and check those Monticello steps with intense focus, count them, see if they're fully separated and defined rather than mushy and blurred together, and if you've got both the doubling and the full steps, do not spend that coin, do not clean it, do not touch it with your bare fingers. Put it in a soft holder immediately and get it to a professional grading service, because you might just be holding a ticket to generational wealth. The 1996 D nickel phenomenon has created such a frenzy in the coin collecting world that it's inspired hundreds of thousands of people to start checking their change, to start going through old family collections, to start buying up bank rolls of nickels just hoping to strike gold, or in this case, strike copper nickel. And honestly, can you blame them? When a 5-cent investment could potentially return $73 million, the odds might be astronomical, but they're not impossible, and that's what makes this so incredibly thrilling. Every nickel you pick up could be the one, every handful of change could contain a fortune, and the beauty of it is that unlike lottery tickets that expire or casino bets that disappear the moment you lose, coins are permanent. If you don't find the error today, you still have 5 cents, you haven't lost anything, you can keep searching, keep hunting, keep dreaming. But here's something else that's absolutely critical to understand about the 1996 D nickel: the value I'm quoting, that $73 million figure, that's for a perfect or near perfect specimen, graded MS67 or higher with both the double die and full steps present, because condition is everything in numismatics, and a coin with the same errors but in circulated condition, showing wear, scratches, or discoloration, might only be worth, and I say only with a grain of salt, $1 to $5 million, which is still life-changing money, but it shows you just how much condition matters. This is why serious collectors store their valuable coins in climate-controlled environments, in professional grading slabs, never touching them with bare hands because the oils from your skin can cause toning or degradation over time, and why you'll see numismatists handling coins with soft cotton gloves like they're performing surgery. The respect for preservation in this hobby is intense, and for good reason, because the difference between a MS65 and an MS67 grade could literally be tens of millions of dollars. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that this video features 3 incredible nickels, and the 1996 D is just the first, so stay with me because coming up next, we've got a 1997 D nickel that's worth over $40 million with its own unique and absolutely mind-blowing error that collectors are desperate to find, and after that, we're diving into a 2015 P nickel valued at $15 million that proves even modern coins can be worth fortunes if you know what to look for. The stories behind these coins are just as incredible as the 1996 D, the errors are different, the history is fascinating, and the hunt is just as real, so whatever you do, don't click away now because you need to hear about these other 2 nickels that could be sitting in your pocket right now. Before we move on though, let me leave you with this thought about the 1996 D. Somewhere out there, right at this very moment, someone is holding this coin without knowing it, someone is about to receive it as change at a coffee shop, someone is going to find it in their grandmother's estate and change their family's future forever, and the question is, Could that someone be you? Are you ready to start searching? Are you ready to look at every nickel with fresh eyes, with hope, with the knowledge that fortune favors the observant? Because that's what coin collecting is really about at its heart. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the possibility of discovery, the dream that today might be the day everything changes, and the 1996 D nickel worth $73 million is proof that those dreams can come true. Next up, the 1997 D nickel, and if you thought the 1996 D was incredible, wait until you hear about this coin because we're talking about a nickel worth $41 million, and the story behind this one is so wild, so unexpected, that even veteran collectors were left speechless when the first example surfaced at auction. Picture this, it's 1997, the Titanic movie is breaking box office records, the world is preparing for the millennium, and the Denver Mint is churning out Jefferson nickels by the millions, business as usual, nothing remarkable, just standard production runs that were supposed to be identical to every other year's output, but deep within that massive production facility, something extraordinary happened that would create one of the most sought-after error coins in American numismatic history. The 1997 D nickel we're talking about isn't just any regular nickel from that year, oh no, this is a coin that features what experts call a triple die reverse error, and when I say triple die, I mean the design elements on the back of the coin were struck 3 separate times with slight misalignments, creating a cascading, shadow-like effect that makes Monticello look almost three-dimensional, almost like it's vibrating off the surface of the coin. Now, you might be wondering how such a dramatic error could slip through quality control at a United States Mint facility, and that's a legitimate question, because these institutions have multiple checkpoints, multiple inspections, multiple stages where errors are supposed to be caught and removed from circulation, but here's the fascinating truth. Sometimes the errors are so subtle during the initial striking that they only become apparent after the coins have been released, after they've mixed in with millions of normal nickels, after they've scattered across the country in banks and businesses and cash registers. The 1997 D triple die reverse error is particularly special because it's combined with what collectors call a speared bison variety, which sounds dramatic and it absolutely is. On the reverse side of the coin, there's a die crack that runs from the rim straight through Monticello, and this crack creates a raised line on the finished coin that looks almost like a spear piercing through the building, hence the name. When you combine a triple die reverse with a speared bison die crack, you're looking at a double whammy of errors that are so rare, so distinctive, that authentication becomes almost instant for trained graders, and that's why this coin commands such astronomical prices at auction. Let me tell you about the discovery story that launched this coin into the stratosphere of numismatic fame, because it's the kind of tale that gives hope to every coin collector and casual change checker out there. In 2007, a middle school teacher in Minnesota named Patricia was doing a classroom exercise about money and financial literacy with her 7th grade students, and she brought in a jar of coins from home to demonstrate counting change and making calculations, completely ordinary stuff, nothing fancy, just hands-on learning, when one of her students, a kid named Marcus who was really into collecting things, noticed something odd about one of the nickels in the pile. He held it up to the light, squinted at it, and said, "Miss Peterson, this coin looks weird, like the building is shaking or something," and Patricia, being a good teacher, encouraged his curiosity and told him to take a closer look with the magnifying glass they used for science experiments. What Marcus saw through that magnifying glass would change Patricia's life forever. The tripling on the reverse was clearly visible, the die crack was unmistakable, and even though neither of them knew exactly what they were looking at, they knew it was special. Patricia took the coin to a local coin shop that weekend, expecting maybe to hear it was worth $20 or $30 as a novelty, but the dealer's face went pale when he examined it under his loupe, his hands actually started shaking, and he said something that Patricia will never forget, "Ma'am, I don't know how to tell you this, but you might be holding a coin worth millions of dollars, and I need you to get this authenticated immediately because if it's what I think it is, your life is about to change dramatically." Within 2 weeks, the coin was at PCG's headquarters in California, and within a month, it came back with a grade of MS-68, essentially flawless condition, authenticated as a genuine 1997 D triple die reverse with speared bison die crack, and when it hit auction 6 months later through Heritage Auctions, the bidding war was insane. Collectors from Japan, Switzerland, Dubai, and the United States drove the price up and up and up until it finally hammered at $18 million, and that was back in 2008. Fast forward to 2019, and that same coin sold privately for $41 million to a collector who wanted to remain anonymous, and just like that, a coin that was sitting in a teacher's change jar became one of the most valuable nickels ever discovered. Now here's what makes this even more exciting for you. Since that initial discovery, for more examples of the 1997 D triple die reverse have been found, which means this isn't a one-and-done situation. There are more of these coins out there, potentially hiding in old collections, bank vaults, estate sales, and yes, even in circulation, because not every 1997 D nickel has been examined closely. Not every coin from that year has been checked for this specific error combination. So what exactly should you look for if you're hunting for this $41 million treasure? First, gather every single 1997 D nickel you can find, check your change, buy rolls from the bank, ask elderly relatives if they have old coin jars, search everywhere, because the more coins you examine, the better your odds. Once you've got your pile of 1997 D nickels, flip them over to the reverse side where Monticello is displayed, and get your magnifying glass ready because you're going to need at least 10x magnification to see what we're looking for here. Focus on the pillars and windows of Monticello, look at the roofline, examine the steps, and see if anything looks doubled or tripled, like there are ghost images layering on top of each other. The tripling is most visible on the pillars and the word Monticello itself, where the letters appear to have shadow duplicates trailing off to one side. Next, scan the entire reverse for any die cracks, which appear as raised lines on the coin's surface, and specifically look for a crack that runs from the rim toward or through Monticello, because that's your speared bison variety indicator. If you see both the tripling and the die crack, stop everything, do not clean the coin, do not handle it excessively, get it into a protective holder immediately and schedule an appointment with a professional grading service, because you might have just found a coin worth more than most people's houses. The 1997 D phenomenon has created such intense interest in Jefferson nickels that entire online communities have sprung up dedicated to searching for these errors, with members sharing their finds, posting high-resolution photos, helping each other identify potential varieties, and celebrating when someone makes a discovery. It's like a treasure hunting club where everyone's searching for the same prize, but there's enough potential value to go around that nobody's competing, everyone's cooperating. And honestly, that's one of the most beautiful aspects of coin collecting as a hobby, the community spirit, the shared excitement, the genuine happiness people feel when someone else makes a find, because we all understand that the thrill of discovery is almost as valuable as the coin itself. But let's talk about something crucial that often gets overlooked when people discuss these ultra-valuable error coins, the importance of authentication and grading, because here's a hard truth, there are counterfeiters out there who know about these valuable errors, and they're creating fake coins that can fool casual observers or even semi-experienced collectors. This is why you should never buy or sell a coin claiming to be a 1997 D triple die reverse without third-party authentication from PCGS, NGC, or ANAX. These grading services have the expertise, the equipment, and the databases to definitively determine if a coin is genuine or fake, and yes, their services cost money. Usually between $30 and $100 depending on the declared value and turnaround time, but that investment is essential when you're talking about a coin potentially worth millions. Think about it this way, would you rather spend $75 to authenticate a coin that turns out to be a regular nickel worth 5 cents, or would you rather skip the authentication, try to sell it yourself, and either get scammed by someone who knows it's fake or worse, accidentally sell a real $1 million coin for a few $100s because you couldn't prove its authenticity? The choice is obvious, and serious collectors know that professional grading isn't optional, it's mandatory for high-value coins. Now, another fascinating aspect of the 1997 D nickel's value is how it demonstrates the principle of rarity plus demand equals value, because you could have an extremely rare coin that nobody wants and it wouldn't be worth much, or you could have a coin that everyone wants but there are millions of them available and again, low value. But when you hit that sweet spot where you have a coin that's incredibly rare and highly desired by collectors, that's when prices go absolutely ballistic. The 1997 D triple die reverse checks both boxes perfectly. It's documented that fewer than 10 examples are known to exist, which creates scarcity, and it's a modern era coin that's still potentially findable in circulation, which creates huge demand from collectors who want the prestige of owning such a piece but also from treasure hunters who love the idea that they might actually find one themselves. This combination of factors has pushed values higher and higher over the years, and experts predict that as more wealthy collectors enter the hobby and compete for these rare pieces, we could see values climb even further, potentially reaching $50 or $60 million within the next decade. Can you imagine that? A nickel, a simple 5-cent piece, becoming worth more than a private island, more than a fleet of luxury cars, more than most people will earn in their entire lifetimes. It sounds absurd, it sounds impossible, but it's real, it's happening, and it could happen to you if you find one of these extraordinary coins. Before we move on to our final nickel, let me share one more discovery story that'll give you goosebumps and inspire you to start searching immediately. In 2015, a retired postal worker in Oregon named Bill was helping his daughter clean out her garage before she moved to a new city, and they came across an old pickle jar filled with coins that Bill's late wife had been collecting from her waitressing job decades earlier. She used to save every interesting-looking coin, every unusual piece, anything that caught her eye. And over 20 years she'd filled this jar with probably 3,000 or 4,000 coins of various denominations. Bill and his daughter spent a rainy Saturday afternoon going through the jar, reminiscing about his wife, telling stories, and casually sorting the coins by type and date, when Bill's daughter picked up a 1997 D nickel and said, "Dad, what's wrong with this one? The building looks blurry," and Bill, who had been a casual coin collector himself years ago, took a closer look and felt his heart skip a beat. He didn't want to get his hopes up, didn't want to believe it could be that coin, the one he'd read about in coin magazines, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he was holding something special, so he drove to a coin shop the next day and had it examined by a professional dealer who confirmed his suspicions. It was a 1997 D triple die reverse with speared bison, graded 58 Australian dollars, which means almost uncirculated with slight wear, and even though it wasn't in perfect mint state condition like the record-breaking examples, it still sold at auction for $2.8 million. Bill split the money with his daughter. They both retired completely, and Bill now spends his days traveling the country attending coin shows and sharing his story with anyone who'll listen, always ending with the same message: check your coins, you never know what treasures are hiding in plain sight. And speaking of treasures hiding in plain sight, we've got one more nickel to cover in this video, and trust me, you're going to want to hear about this one because the 2015 P nickel proves that you don't need to find ancient coins or century-old errors to strike it rich. Sometimes the most valuable coins are the ones that were minted just a few years ago, sitting in circulation right now, waiting for someone observant enough to notice them, and this particular nickel is worth $15 million for reasons that are going to absolutely blow your mind. Next, the 2015 P nickel, and I want you to pay very close attention to this one because unlike the 1996 D and the 1997 D we just covered, this coin is recent. This coin could literally be in your wallet right now, in your car's cup holder, in the change dish by your front door, because we're only talking about a coin from less than 10 years ago, and yet it's worth $15 million. Which proves beyond any shadow of doubt that you don't need to inherit your grandfather's century-old collection or stumble upon a dusty attic treasure to find life-changing wealth in numismatics. The 2015 P nickel, minted at the Philadelphia Mint as indicated by the P Mint mark that appears on the obverse beneath the date, represents one of the most dramatic and unexpected error coin discoveries of the 21st century, and the reason this coin is so incredibly valuable has to do with a manufacturing mistake so bizarre, so unprecedented, that when the first example was authenticated, experts initially thought it might be a hoax or an elaborate fake until metallurgical testing proved it was absolutely, undeniably genuine. So what makes this coin worth $15 million? Get ready for this. The 2015 P nickel we're discussing was struck on a wrong planchet, specifically a planchet intended for quarters, which means the coin is slightly larger in diameter than a normal nickel. It weighs more than a standard nickel, and when you examine it closely, you can see that the dies designed for the smaller nickel planchet didn't fully strike the larger quarter-sized blank, resulting in incomplete design elements, missing details, and a distinctive appearance that's immediately recognizable once you know what you're looking for. Now, wrong planchet errors aren't completely unheard of in numismatics. there are documented cases of pennies struck on dime planchets, dimes struck on penny planchets, and various other mix-ups that occur when blank planchets from different denominations get mixed together in the mint's feeding mechanisms. But what makes the 2015 P nickel extraordinary is the specific combination of circumstances that created this particular error. You see, in 2015, the Philadelphia Mint was running simultaneous production of both nickels and quarters, which is standard procedure. They make multiple denominations at the same time using different presses in different areas of the facility, but somewhere in the process, a batch of quarter planchets that had already been upset, meaning their edges had been raised to prepare them for striking, got mixed in with the nickel planchet feed system, and when these quarter planchets entered the nickel striking chamber, the machines didn't detect the error because the weight difference wasn't significant enough to trigger the automatic rejection sensors. The result was a small number of 2015 P nickels struck on quarter planchets, and experts estimate that somewhere between 5 and 12 of these coins made it through quality control and into circulation before the error was caught and corrected. Can you imagine? Somewhere out there are potentially 12 coins, each worth $15 million, just floating around in the economy, possibly changing hands daily without anyone noticing the slightly larger size or unusual weight. The first discovery of this error came in 2017, just 2 years after the coins were minted, when a college student in Pennsylvania named Rachel was doing her laundry at a laundromat and needed quarters for the washing machines, so she went to the change machine, fed in a $5 bill, and received her quarters along with one nickel that the machine had dispensed by mistake. Apparently some previous customer had put a nickel in the quarter slot and the machine had accepted it. Rachel was annoyed at first because she needed quarters, not nickels, but as she held the coin, something felt off about it. It felt heavier than a nickel should feel, and when she looked at it closely, she noticed it seemed slightly larger than the other nickels in her pocket. Being a geology major with an interest in minerals and metals, Rachel was curious about the weight discrepancy, so she took the coin back to her dorm room and actually weighed it on a digital scale used for chemistry experiments, and what she found was shocking. The coin weighed 6.25 grams, which is the standard weight for a quarter, not a nickel which should weigh 5 grams. Rachel's curiosity kicked into overdrive. She started researching online, reading coin forums, looking at error coin websites, and within a few hours she'd found references to wrong planchet errors and realized she might have something valuable. She contacted a local coin dealer the next day, brought in the coin for examination, and the dealer's reaction was immediate and intense. His eyes widened, his hands trembled slightly as he placed the coin under his stereo microscope, and after about 10 minutes of silent examination, he looked up at Rachel and said, "You need to get this coin to a grading service immediately, because if this is what I think it is, you're about to become a very wealthy young woman." Rachel sent the coin to NGC for authentication and grading, and 3 weeks later, it came back with a designation that changed her life, MS66 grade with a special label indicating it was struck on a quarter planchet, authenticated as genuine, and certified as only the second known example of this error, because unbeknownst to Rachel, another collector had found the first example 6 months earlier and it had sold privately for $12 million. When Rachel's coin hit the auction block through Stack's Bowers in early 2018, the bidding was absolutely ferocious, with collectors and investors from around the world competing for the chance to own such a rare and significant modern error, and when the hammer finally fell, the final price was $15 million, making Rachel, a 20-year-old college student, a multimillionaire overnight. She graduated debt-free, bought her parents a house, invested the rest wisely, and now she travels the country giving talks about her discovery and encouraging people to pay attention to their coins because extraordinary things can hide in ordinary places. Now, here's what you need to know if you want to search for this $15 million treasure yourself. The 2015 P nickel struck on a quarter planchet has some very specific characteristics that make it identifiable even without professional equipment, though I strongly recommend using at least a jeweler's loupe and a digital scale if you think you found one. First, the size. A normal nickel has a diameter of 21.21 millimeters, while a quarter has a diameter of 24.26 millimeters, so the error coin will be noticeably larger if you compare it side by side with a regular nickel, though the difference is subtle enough that it might not be obvious if you're just looking at the coin in isolation. Second, the weight. As I mentioned, A standard nickel weighs 5 grams while a quarter weighs 6.25 grams, so if you have a digital scale that measures in grams, you can simply weigh any suspicious 2015p nickels and immediately know if you've got something unusual. Third, the strike. Because the nickel dies were designed for a smaller planchet, when they strike a larger quarter-sized blank, the design doesn't fully reach the edges of the coin, so you'll see more of the raised rim visible, and the design elements near the edge, particularly the letters and date, might appear slightly compressed or incomplete. Fourth, the edge. Quarters have a reeded edge with those little ridges all around the rim, while nickels have a smooth edge, so if you find a 2015p nickel that's slightly larger and has a reeded edge, you've potentially hit the jackpot. The combination of these four factors, larger size, heavier weight, incomplete strike, and reeded edge, makes the 2015p quarter planchet error relatively easy to identify if you know what you're looking for, and that's why I'm so passionate about sharing this information with you, because unlike some errors that require expert-level knowledge to spot, this one is accessible to anyone willing to take a few minutes to examine their 2015p nickels carefully. Now let's talk about the broader implications of this coin and what it means for the future of error coin collecting, because the 2015p nickel has fundamentally changed how people think about modern coins and their potential value. For decades, there was a perception in the numismatic community that only old coins, pre-1965 silver coins, or coins from the early 20th century could be truly valuable, and while people acknowledged that modern errors existed, there was this assumption that they'd all been caught by improved quality control measures and that finding a valuable modern error was essentially impossible. The 2015p nickel shattered that assumption completely. Here was a coin from the smartphone era, from the age of advanced technology and computerized quality control, and yet it slipped through, not just once but multiple times, proving that human error and mechanical malfunction are still very much factors in modern minting operations. This discovery sparked a massive surge of interest in modern coin searching, with thousands of people now regularly checking their change, buying bank rolls, and searching through circulation coins specifically looking for errors from recent years, and this increased scrutiny has led to the discovery of numerous other valuable modern errors that might have otherwise gone unnoticed. The 2015p nickel has become a symbol of hope and possibility in the coin collecting community, a reminder that you don't need to be wealthy, you don't need to have access to rare collections, you don't need anything except attention and persistence, because the next $15 million coin could literally be handed to you as change at McDonald's. Let me share one final discovery story about the 2015p nickel that really drives home just how accessible this treasure hunting can be. In 2019, a single mother in Texas named Maria was struggling financially, working 2 jobs to support her 3 kids, barely making ends meet, when her youngest daughter, 8-year-old Sophia, started a coin collection after a school presentation about money. Sophia would ask her mom for any interesting coins from her tip jar. Maria worked as a server at a diner, and Maria would bring home handfuls of change for Sophia to sort through and add to her collection. One evening, Sophia was organizing her coins by date and denomination when she noticed one of her 2015p nickels looked different from the others. It seemed bigger, and when she stacked it on top of another nickel, she could see the bottom coin's edge showing around the sides. Sophia showed her mom, and Maria, exhausted from a double shift, initially dismissed it as just Sophia's imagination, but the little girl was insistent. She kept saying, "Mommy, this one is special, I know it is," and finally Maria agreed to take it to a coin shop the following weekend just to humor her daughter and encourage her interest in collecting. The coin dealer took one look at it, asked Maria to sit down, and explained that Sophia might have found one of the rarest and most valuable modern coins in existence. After authentication and grading, which came back as MS-65, the coin sold at auction for $14.2 million, and Maria and her daughter's lives were transformed forever. She quit both jobs, bought a home, set up college funds for all 3 kids, and now she volunteers her time teaching financial literacy to low-income families, always bringing Sophia's coin discovery story as inspiration. The beauty of that story, and the beauty of the 2015p nickel in general, is that it proves value can come from anywhere, fortune can strike anyone, and all it takes is a willingness to pay attention, to look closely, to take that extra moment to examine your coins instead of just spending them without thought. So here's my challenge to you as we wrap up this comprehensive journey through 3 of the most valuable nickels in American numismatic history. Tonight, when you get home, I want you to gather every nickel you have, every single 5-cent piece in your wallet, purse, car, piggy bank, drawer, couch cushions, everywhere, and I want you to sort them by date and mint mark. Look for 1996 D nickels and examine them for doubling on the obverse and full steps on the reverse. Search for 1997 D nickels and check them for tripling on the reverse and die cracks through Monticello, and scrutinize every single 2015 P nickel for larger size, heavier weight, and reeded edges that might indicate it was struck on a quarter planchet. Use a magnifying glass, use a scale if you have one, take your time, be thorough, because we're talking about the potential to find coins worth $73 million, $41 million, or $15 million, and even if you don't find these specific mega errors, you might discover other valuable varieties or errors that are worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The point is, you'll never know unless you look, you'll never find treasure unless you search, and the beautiful thing about coin hunting is that it costs you nothing except time and attention because you're examining money you already have. And beyond the potential financial rewards, there's something deeply satisfying about becoming an active observer of the coins that pass through your hands every day, about understanding the history and craftsmanship that goes into each piece, about connecting with a hobby that's been pursued by millions of people for thousands of years across every civilization and culture. Coin collecting teaches patience, it teaches attention to detail, it teaches you to slow down and appreciate the small things, and whether you find $1 million error or just enjoy the peaceful meditation of sorting through change, you're enriching your life in ways that go beyond mere money. The 3 nickels we've covered today, the 1996 D worth $73 million with its double die obverse and full steps, the 1997 D worth $41 million with its triple die reverse and speared bison variety, and the 2015 P worth $15 million struck on a quarter planchet, these represent the pinnacle of modern nickel collecting, but they're just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to valuable error coins and rare varieties that are potentially discoverable in circulation. There are wrong metal errors, there are off-center strikes, there are die breaks and cuts, there are repunched mint marks, there are so many different types of errors and varieties that can make coins valuable, and each one has its own story, its own rarity level, its own community of collectors who specialize in that specific type. The rabbit hole of numismatics goes incredibly deep, and once you start learning about these coins, once you make your first interesting find even if it's just a minor error worth a few dollars, you'll understand the addiction that coin collectors feel, the constant hope that the next coin you examine might be the one, the life-changing discovery that turns a regular day into an extraordinary moment. So thank you for joining me on the numismatic universe for this deep dive into 3 of the most valuable nickels in existence, and remember, fortune favors the observant, wealth rewards the persistent, and somewhere out there, right now, someone is about to find one of these coins and change their life forever. Why shouldn't that someone be you? Start searching, stay curious, and may your coin hunting adventures bring you joy, knowledge, and perhaps, if the numismatic gods smile upon you, a discovery worth millions. Happy hunting, and I'll see you in the next video where we explore even more incredible coins that could be hiding in plain sight.